President Trump is warning Americans to brace for a rough two-week period. President Donald Trump on Tuesday warned Americans to brace for a rough two-week period ahead as the White House released new projections that there could be 100,000 to 240,000 deaths in the U.S. from the coronavirus pandemic even if current social distancing guidelines are maintained. Public health officials stress that the number could be less if people change their behavior. "We really believe we can do a lot better than that," said Dr. Deborah Birx, the coordinator of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. "That would require all Americans to take seriously their role in preventing the spread of disease," she said. Trump called American efforts to slow the spread of the coronavirus a matter of life and death and urged the public to heed his administration's guidelines. He predicted the country would soon see a light at the end of the tunnel in the pandemic that has killed more than 3,500 Americans and infected 170,000 more. "I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead," Trump said. "We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks." Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert, said the numbers are sobering and called on Americans to step on the accelerator with their collective mitigation efforts. "We are continuing to see things go up," Fauci said. "We cannot be discouraged by that because the mitigation is actually working and will work." Birx said pandemic forecasts initially predicted 1.5 million to 2.2 million deaths in the U.S. But that was a worst-case scenario, without efforts to slow the spread of the coronavirus through social distancing. Birx said states that have not yet seen a spike in cases as New York could take action to flatten the curve of rising hospitalizations and deaths. As for the projection of 100,000 to 240,000 deaths, Fauci of the National Institutes of Health said, "We don't accept that number, that's what it's going to be. We want to do much better than that." The comments came after Trump announced Sunday that he was extending to April 30 the social distancing guidelines that urged Americans to cease social gatherings, work from home, suspend on-site learning at schools and more in a nationwide effort to stem the spread of the virus. It was an abrupt reversal for Trump, who spent much of last week targeting April 12 as the day he wanted to see Americans pack the pews for Easter Sunday services. Many states and local governments already have stiffer controls in place on mobility and gatherings. Trump spoke after another troubling day for the stock market, which has been in a free fall as the coronavirus ground the economy to a near halt and left millions unemployed. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged more than 400 points, or roughly 1.9%, to seal the worst first-quarter finish of its 135-year history. The vice president told CNN's Wolf Blitzer that Trump never belittled the threat of the coronavirus and knows that we will get through this. Vice President Mike Pence said Wednesday that President Donald Trump is merely being optimistic with remarks that downplayed the coronavirus outbreak. Pence was pressed during an appearance on CNN by politics anchor Wolf Blitzer to explain why Trump hadn't ordered a national lockdown in the days since he had stopped belittling the enormity of this crisis. New White House projections, Blitzer noted, suggest as many as 200,000 people may die from COVID-19 in the U.S. if the current state-by-state advisories and restrictions are maintained. Pence rejected the criticism. "I don't believe the president has ever belittled the threat of the coronavirus," Pence said, adding, he expressed gratitude and confidence in healthcare workers in this country, and the American people can be assured President Trump is going to continue to be confident that we will meet this moment. Trump, however, has repeatedly contradicted public health officials about the threat of the coronavirus. Even this week, after acknowledging the seriousness of the pandemic, he has attacked state governors asking for equipment and suggested that hospital staffers are squandering masks or stealing them out the back door. Earlier, the president repeatedly compared the outbreak to the seasonal flu, which has a much lower fatality rate and is much less contagious. "We lose thousands of people a year to the flu. We never turn the country off," Trump said at a briefing last week when he argued for a loosening of national social distancing guidelines. He went on, We lose much more than that to automobile accidents. We didn't call up the automobile companies and say, stop making cars. He also shrugged off the coronavirus in a tweet earlier this month, 2 days before the World Health Organization officially declared the outbreak a pandemic. Blitzer confronted Pence with Trump's remarks, but the vice president stuck to his talking points. The president is an optimistic person, Pence responded. We've been from the very beginning. When the president suspended all travel from China, stood up the White House coronavirus task force in January. We have been hoping for the best but planning for the worst.